And the unvarnished highlight of the day, perhaps of the year, a nugget that captures what happened to this nation's economy at the hands of Wall Street's gamblers. Senator Levin was questioning the former head of Goldman's mortgage department, Daniel Sparks. And another warning, there is a commonplace but offensive word. It is being quoted from a Goldman Sachs internal email. It is repeated several times within this portion of the hearing. We are not bleeping it out.
Before you sold them, this is what your sales team were telling to each other. Boy, that Timberwolf was one shitty deal. They sold that shitty deal. The context, let me tell you, the context is mighty clear. June 22 is the date of this email. Boy, that Timberwolf was one shitty deal. How much of that shitty deal did you sell to your clients after June 22, 2007? You didn't tell them you thought it was a shitty deal.
Well, I didn't say that.
No. Who did? Your people, internally. You knew it was a shitty deal, and that's what your email shows. How about the fact that you sold hundreds of millions of that deal after your people knew it was a shitty deal?
The answers from Goldman executives at that hearing could best be summed up as laborious and evasive, though one did concede that it was unfortunate that emails like the one described by Senator Levin and other potentially incriminating emails had been disseminated. Senator Claire McCaskill brought it home while connecting the dots. The offensive word, again, is referenced.
We're trying to hone in on why I've got so many unemployed people in my state and why so many people that I work for in Missouri have lost incredible amounts of money in their pensions. That's what we're honing in on today. This synthetic derivative, by the way, this is the same one that your folks called shitty later. This is the same one, okay? What's clear here is that there didn't seem to be a great deal of confidence in the long side of this particular instrument. But the salespeople were being pushed to move it. And, you know, it just looks like that you guys are not only making the market, you're playing in the market and mucking it up.
Joining me now, as promised, Senator Ted Kaufman of Delaware. Great. Thanks for your time tonight, Senator.
Hey, Keith. How you doing?
We have saved your participation in this key hearing today to let you describe it. The deal-making at issue was complex, but how would you characterize it?
I'd say complex, but really very simple. I'd say it's really simple about the fact exactly what the point people were trying to make is it just seems like none of the people at Goldman Sachs were aware of the fact of the incredible conflict of interest of what they were doing.
Not aware of it or pretending it didn't exist?
You never know. I mean, you know, you can't tell, but these are very, very, I mean, it's hard to believe. I think your point's well taken. As I said during the hearing, these are very smart people. And the idea that you can be out selling something to people at the same time shorting it is such an incredible conflict of interest. They wouldn't even recognize their conflict of interest. Now, I think what they're concerned about is a very thin line between the conflict of interest and fraud.
To that point, since accountability is not forthcoming from these executives, are lawsuits and investigations like the one you're part of here in the Senate, are they the only things that would force this into the light?
No, no. I think what's going on, remember, early this year, Senator Leahy and Senator Grassley and I got a bill passed to give $175 million to the Department of Justice and the Securities Exchange Commission for the FBI and the Securities Exchange Commission to just go after fraud on Wall Street that was responsible for this. And I think we had an oversight hearing a couple months ago. They're moving ahead on this. I think the Goldman Sachs case that was just announced a week or so ago is just the first step. No, I think we're going to be seeing more of this.
To the idea of getting the finance reform bill passed,
right.
Republican Senator George Voinovich has said within the last few moments that he will eventually vote with Democrats to get the bill to the floor after giving negotiations a bit more time. So, now there is reason to believe that this will actually happen, or at least the debate will happen?
I absolutely believe. I mean, I don't see how. I mean, I have a hard time figuring out. It's always dangerous trying to figure out what you know, the Republicans are doing. I'm a Democrat, and it's hard for me sometimes to figure out. But I don't understand what they're doing on this. I mean, everywhere I go, people are concerned about this, and the idea that, you know, I can understand lots of behavior, but to filibuster the motion to proceed. And I said on the floor last night, you know, one of the things after hanging around this place as long as I have and teaching about it for so long is that American people just aren't interested in process and procedural votes. But every once in a while, it's so in their face. I mean, the idea that here's an issue that brought about so much discomfort to so many people, and they don't want to move to the bill to even talk about it. Keith, I don't understand it, and I don't think it can stand very much pressure at all. And I think George Voinovich is just the beginning. I don't think the Republicans can withstand the idea that they're standing in the way of us getting to reform. Now, we may have differences of opinion. I have some differences with the bill. I think it's a good bill, but I have some differences with the bill. But the idea of not even talk about it, not debate it, and the thing that really, frankly, upsets me is that all this discussion of health care reform about transparency and we should be out in the open, and what they want to do is they want to carry up, they're holding out, as George Voinovich said, who I have the greatest respect for. He says, well, I'd like the negotiations to go further. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I thought you guys were the ones for out in the open. Let's get it on the floor. Let's get past this negotiations thing. Clearly, that's not working. Let's get it on the floor, and actually people can offer their amendments. Republicans can offer their amendments. Democrats can offer their amendments. I think I've got some amendments that will get good Republican support.
Senator, I have to ask you this. It's off the point, but so many people have asked me, and I'm going to ask you in turn. Is there any way they can talk you into staying in the Senate?
No, Keith. This was a 2-year contract. Made that deal. I tell you, you know, no. This. I'm doing the right thing.
All right, Senator Ted Kaufman of Delaware. A great pleasure. Thank you kindly for your time.
Thank you, Keith. Thanks for having me.